Tudor has done it. They finally freaking did it. Released a new Tudor Ranger. I'm sure you heard the news. It just released today, and I know quite a few different watch collectors that are very excited about this release. Some of us have been waiting years for this release, and it's finally here on the 70th anniversary of the very first one. Now in this video, I'm not going to go into the history of the Tudor Ranger. This is also not a review of one of these watches because I had a very limited time with one, about an hour or so. What this video is meant to be, it's my initial impressions and a bit of a hands-on experience with this watch. Now the way I structured this video is going to be broken down into 5 different parts, so you can skip around to the one that you're interested in the most. I'm going to talk about the dial, I'm going to talk about the finishes, I'm going to talk about the size, the bracelet slash clasp, and then I'm going to talk about my overall thoughts on the watch as a whole. So let's get started by talking about the finishes. When I was holding the watch in my hands, I was actually quite surprised with the finish on the watch. I was expecting some alteration between high polish finishes and satin finish. This one is pretty much all satin finish, except for a few high polish accents, more like chamfers around the lugs and a couple of high polish accents on the bezel. That's pretty much it. Everything else is done with a brushed finish. And that sort of makes sense, since this is sort of an ultimate sports watch. It's a watch that you are meant to wear on expeditions and such. You don't want it to be scratched up. It's actually one of the negatives that I have about my Explorer, that high polish, even though it looks fantastic, it does scratch up quite easily. The Ranger, on the other hand, with its all brushed finish, should technically be a little bit more durable. Now, as far as the quality of the finish, it's good. It's what you would expect in this $3,000 price category, but it's not like Omega finish. Of course, it's a cheaper watch, so the quality of the finish feels a little bit more on the budget side. I just want to set your expectations correctly. This is a sports watch. It's supposed to be a rugged watch, so the finishes sort of reflect that. Of course, the watch that I'm filming here, the watch that I had hands-on experience with, is the one on the stainless steel bracelet. Now is a good opportunity to talk about the finishes on the bracelet and actually the bracelet itself. So the finishes are great. They match the overall finish on the case. It flows seamlessly from one to another, and the fit of the bracelet into the case is quite nice. Overall, it just feels like a nice, solid unit. Now, this bracelet doesn't have these controversial faux rivets like the bracelet on Tudor Black Bay 58 models does. I know a lot of watch collectors hate those faux rivets. I personally like them. They add a little bit of a vintage flair to the watch, but I gotta admit, I actually prefer this bracelet to the bracelet on the Tudor Black Bay 58. I think it just looks better, it looks more modern. Now, also what's changed about this bracelet is the clasp. This clasp is great. I think Tudor should put it on all of their watches. It has this easy glide lock system. It's called T-Fit, but it's pretty much Rolex's glide lock system. It's just engineered in a slightly different way, where you have some adjustment. You can extend the bracelet, you can take some of the length away, depending on how you're feeling that day, depending if you want to wear this watch over a wetsuit. It's just a really nice system. I think more watch companies should incorporate something like that into their clasps, and I'm glad that Tudor went with this specific clasp. Of course, we've seen this clasp already on the Tudor Black Bay Pro models that were released earlier this year. The dial looks great. It has a little bit of a dome to itself. The watch also has an all painted or printed dial, very vintage inspired. The indexes, the 12, 3, 6, and 9 in Arabic numerals, are all done in this sort of an off yellow, slightly greenish color to simulate a look of faux patina. I know some people would like it, some people might not be such big fans of it. I don't mind it. I think it looks pretty good and adds to this vintage aesthetic that the watch is going for. The dial also has a bit of a grain to itself. It's not a completely smooth or a gloss dial. It has this grainy look, and it really makes the watch feel a little bit more rugged and outdoorsy. Tudor decided to feature this iconic set of hands from Tudor Ranger models of the past. I'm not a big fan of this look. Now, don't shoot the messenger is just how I feel. I'm not liking this look too much, but I know why they did it, and I still would prefer this look because it's a little bit more faithful to the original. It's just not my personal cup of tea. I think maybe a snowflake hand for the hours would look better, but that's just my personal preference. Overall, this set of hands is exactly what you would expect as a watch collector, as a Tudor fan, when you hear Tudor Ranger in 2022. There is a red tip on the seconds hand, and I wish they added a little bit more red to the dial itself. Maybe write the word Ranger in red. I think this little pop of color maybe would have added more visual interest to otherwise fairly bland dial. Now the dial is bland by design. This is an outdoorsy watch. It's not supposed to be flashy. It's not supposed to be luxurious. And on the wrist, it wears like a great sports watch. 39 millimeters wears great. It's one of my favorite sizes for watches, especially sports watches like this. And Tudor finally has done it. They have finally released a watch that's not too thick. 12 millimeters in thickness is perfect for this case. I was surprised with how much dome came out of the crystal. Of course, the crystal is a sapphire crystal. And again, this dome makes the watch feel more vintage inspired, makes it feel like something that was designed in 1950s but recreated in 2022. I guess that's the intent behind this release. So I think overall Tudor has nailed it with this release. I say that rarely, but there are very few things that I would do differently in this watch. There are very few things that I would change about this watch. Just everything about this release is done well. The size looks good. The design is exactly what a Tudor Ranger should look like. Maybe a little bit conservative, maybe a little bit boring, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Tudor is really showing that they're listening to their fan base. They're following watch community, and they know what their customers are wanting. I wish other companies would do more of that. So well done, Tudor. I am really pleased with this release. I think it's great, and I think a lot of people will have a lot of fun with this watch. I personally am not gonna buy one because I have the Rolex Explorer, and it's a very similar watch to a Rolex Explorer. I don't need two of the same watches in my collection. So that's it. Those were my first impressions of the new Tudor Ranger. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We release new videos every week, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this new Tudor Ranger. Are you looking to buy one? Do you not like it? Do you like it? Leave your thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. In the description of this video, there is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. Thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Look who it is, guys. It's Mr. Bond, the one and only. He's doing great. We just came back from the park. It's very hot in Vancouver. He's been struggling with the heat, bulldog life, but he's very happy, and he has a message for you. Be happy and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Is that right? That's right.